Looks like we're just live and no video, huh? We just went straight in.
I guess so, man. Shit. Oh well.
Are there people? Are there people on here now? They're waiting for that video.
CLTFC Fan TV for the fans, by the fans, damn it. Nikki had a good time with Bogert last night. Maybe too good of a time. How's that feel?
Brett would be laughing. It's absurd, but let's go!
We are top of the league. Say we are top of the league. We are top of the league. Say we are top of the league.
One big piece of things today that's missing, I think, is our girl Heidi. First and foremost, shout out to Heidi, the matriarch of certainly South Mountain Crown, but in my opinion, Charlotte FC.
Yes, I agree.
So had a nice moment in the stadium for her.
That's right.
Picture up there, which is the least we can do.
Great picture.
I think she had a little something to do with the 2-0 win today, right?
Of course you did.
She's enjoying that.
Just here.
Yeah. No, she didn't fall over any stairs. No helmet required.
Bronico. That man. Come in on this. I want to come on this because I was the one saying bring Bronico into the game as a starter. The mayor, we needed it, and he brought it.
Bear.
Want a push-up? And what you really think about the game? You think the game was a good game, like first half?
For the fans, by the fans.
I don't know it.
Finish it off.
I don't know it.
Damn it!
Damn it!
San Diego, Ego Malego, go find Diego. Charlotte gonna win the motherfucking MLS Cup. And that's what my word.
I don't know what caused that besides maybe the rain.
The rain.
And
First like a song.
We broke our 13 record streak
we did.
at the bank.
You know
We
what?
broke our 13 record streak.
I think it's
We didn't break it. Minnesota did.
I think it's because Taylor Swift just released an album and
No Swifty on this. Cut this right here, JT. We're cutting
13,
it.
so we had to stop it at 13.
It is the 13 because Taylor stopped it at 13.
All right, well.
Yeah.
Yeah, kill the. Yeah.
Kill the women?
No.
Swift.
I did not say that.
what's going on. You know what's going down. You know what's going down. All right.
Hold on. You know, I never redo it.
We're live again, man.
I never try to redo it. Yeah. Come on, Dean. Come on, Dean.
It's been,
Hey, welcome to CLTFC. Look how much shade it puts on my face. Welcome to CLTFC Fan TV. For the fans, by the fans, damn it. I'm JT, that's Lee, and our boy Brian Maurer, aka Bam. What's up, y'all?
what's good, man?
Hot time in the city. It's hot.
Yeah. It was so hot, I forgot which button to push and set us live right now.
Bro, I hadn't seen the video in a while. I thought for a second y'all had Bert Kreischer interviewing for that one dude without his shirt on. I was like, bro, they got Bert Kreischer on here, dude.
That's some characters.
That would be, no, actually, that would be perfect because we would have him on here, Brian, and we would never promote it or anything, and just be like, oh yeah, he just came through. He came through.
So
And
we
we gave him some merch too.
Heck
We did.
yeah.
merch. Top in that.
I will say we never have merch.
We don't have. Well, we did at one point.
Well, we will one day.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
a transition.
Well, you better get our merch because it's almost out. We're almost sold out.
That's what's up.
Oh, gee.
Get it, man. I don't know, man. It seems weird with the no games coming up, games coming. Man, I'm all sorts of lost, man.
You're lost. If
Yeah.
you're lost, then yeah, all right.
Yeah, it's a crazy stretch because it was a jam-packed schedule. I still feel like this month is jam-packed. It's just not Charlotte FC games. There's like Club World Cup games happening, Gold Cup. It's just so much different stuff happening.
There's plenty, right, to watch. Have you been watching the World Cup game?
No, I mean I've just kind of caught glimpses of it. I saw like Bayern beating that Auckland team like 10-0, and I was like, what is happening here?
Goalkeeper man had to take like sick time and personal leave to be able to go playing golf during the competition. you know,
Brutal.
so it would take like him 100 years to make what Harry Kane's making in like a year or something. It's
Yeah, brutal. I did like the Seattle Botafogo game. I mean, I felt like Seattle actually like came to play a little bit, kept it close. I think that like games like that, I think are going to be interesting. Like how do MLS teams kind of stack up in some of these games? And I think that was one where I know that people say like Botafogo had like obviously the depth and everything like that because of the MLS roster rules, but I mean, I still feel like they showed up. Seattle showed up and got they were in that. So I'm pumped about that.
I haven't pulled out in a while, but come on, man. It's the beginning of the show. We're already talking about other teams.
Yeah.
What are we doing, y'all? I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, seriously, stop. What are we doing?
It's a recap show, man. Since we're
Recap of other teams?
well, we were going to segue to Charlotte because then we were going
to Charlotte out of the beginning of the show? Damn, man.
Yeah, hey, you've messed up the whole vibe, man. Go ahead, JT, run with it.
All right. So my thought is a lot of people are like, they always want to throw shade at Tepper.
Mm-hmm.
Blah, blah, blah. They don't understand anything about the GAM and TAM and whatever. So from what I understand, we're at 0 GAM right now. We have no money to spend. However you spend it. And that would seem that the fault would lie more on Zoran. Tepper can't do shit with it. He can pump money into the team, but he can't mess with GAM or TAM or ZAM or LAM or BAM.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, yeah, at this point, I mean, they can get GAM back pretty quick. It depends on if they sell anybody in the summer, right? So if they were to sell a Malanda, if they were to sell an Ajiman or any of these guys in the summer window, they'll get allocation money for that.
At least at Abada.
Abada too, I think is definitely got to be a. He's not even getting starts. I mean, you can't.
Out of the 3 people you named, Abada would be that.
Yeah, I say him is because he's a DP, right? And I feel we're going to lose that open spot to Pep for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just feel like Vargas is doing a pretty good job personally. I think he's
Yeah.
stepped up this season and shown what he can do. I think.
He's landed his shots.
Yeah, I mean, well, him and Pep have a good relationship, and I'm not sure if that's helped or not, but just definitely showing up on the field for the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe some of these guys are so young, right? I mean, I think that
It's relative.
that doesn't get discussed enough. Well, relative when you're looking, so many Charlotte FC fans and MLS fans are following. What other leagues are they following? They're following the Premier League, right? They're following La Liga. They're following Bundesliga. There's other big leagues where players have to show up like very fast, and if they don't, they're just out, right? And so you're seeing players in these big leagues start to peak at really young ages, and so that becomes the standard for world soccer, that's not the stand. Like that's not actually the standard. Like the Premier League is just like the creme de la creme, right? And so young players like a Vargas, like a Ajiman, these guys need minutes, and they're going to have peaks and valleys, right? Tokomati even, right? Everybody was super high on him, the new shiny toy, but like he's starting to miss some shots, right? Showing that he's also 20, and there's going to be some peaks and valleys. He's still trying to hit his stride, and I think that's just part of it. Obviously, Vargas has gotten a lot of appearances, but he's still learning how to be a factor week in and week out at 23. He's still got time, and we're starting to see a little bit more of a mature player figuring who he is. And I think that's what we're starting to see.
I saw on the socials that someone was talking about, it seemed like this last game, whatever with Philly, we'll obviously talk about more, but they played well. All this stuff, but someone really loved the connection of Bronico on the left middle and Vargas on the right wing. Like they connected a lot, or they did really well, or.
Oh, you're asking?
Yeah, I'm asking. I don't know. I didn't notice the nuances, but like someone's like, hey, Bronico and Vargas seem to really be gelling.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Brian. I'll let you have your say.
I would say, I don't feel like the midfield has gelled enough overall in terms of being able to control games or finish games off. So whether or not they're connecting with an individual player at any point in time, I think the midfield, specifically looking at players, Westwood would be the first name I'm pointing out, because he's the veteran of this group. He's the captain of this group. He's got to be the guy, the stabilizing force that helps get this team over the line in some of these big moments. And I think him being able to lead these guys and help connect, and especially down the stretch when they need to kind of be able to possess the ball, control the game, control what areas of the field the game is being played on when games are tight, like this 1-1, they couldn't get it out of their own box. I think players like Westwood and Bronico, that midfield in general, that core needs to be able to find a way to stabilize and control games. So whether Bronico and Vargas are connecting at all, I feel like it's just not a big enough factor right now. I feel like for me, the biggest factor is can Charlotte FC start to control games more consistently? That was something that Dean mentioned at the beginning of the season, and they really still haven't. I haven't seen that progression anywhere near as much as we were, I think, maybe hoping for. And that was something Dean mentioned. That's the reason why they signed Williamson too.
Yeah.
And when you say control, you mean control possession, control the midfield more,
control where the game is being played and how the game is being played. Essentially being able to dictate, instead of being the reactor, be the proactive aspect of the game, in terms of being hey, we're going to play on your side of the field. We're going to play in these areas, these pockets of space. We're going to control the ball. And if we don't have control of the ball, it still doesn't matter. You're not going to get it in and around our box. And I think those are all things that Charlotte haven't been able to answer, those questions.
Well, I mean, let's dial it back. We'll get into the Philly game towards the end of the show. But it's the middle of the season, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously we came out, we had high expectations. We were actually doing pretty good, right? We were pulling off wins that we shouldn't have won, right? But we all thought, well, it's the beginning of the season. We got to get our feet underneath us, right? As we get going, the games are going to get better. And then we lost to New England at home, right? And then since then, it's just been what the hell has gone wrong in the team for the team, right? I mean, simple goals. I mean, Kalina's being benched, Abada's being benched. Yeah. It's I don't know. Does Dino even know his 11 yet? It's kind of what I'm asking about. Like, does he know who's going to step and play, or is it just sort of trying to light the fire under like Diabata, right? Or like, Kalina, come on, man, we know you can save these shots, right? But I mean, Bingham hadn't really done too bad either.
No, I mean, I think it's like sort of a lot of things happen simultaneously. I think that New England game was a bad game. That's one of the main. I think there's 3 games that stood out to me as like situations where I think Charlotte should have done better and had a better performance. They should have figured out a way to get over the line. They weren't able to find a solution. The first one is that New England game. I'd also say that Miami game on the road, when they had the red card in the first half, the fact that they couldn't find a way to break them down and get a result there, I think is a big drawback. And then this most recent one against Philly, I know it's a tough one on the road against Philadelphia, but they were missing like half their squad, like half their starters. Baribo, golden boot leader right now, is out. Was out for that game. Half of their midfield was out on international duty or injured. Half their defense was gone. Andre Blake was gone on international. So they were missing like 5 or 6 starters. Philly was. And so I feel like there was an opportunity for Charlotte to maybe show up a little bit better. And so those are the 3 games to me that stand out as just situations where they weren't able to kind of take the opportunity, even though they played decent. And I feel like in those games, it shows for me the concern with those games specifically is that their ceiling, when they're playing pretty decently well and the opportunity is there for them to get a result, they're not getting to that next level. And I think that for me is one of the big issues. Their ceiling doesn't seem to be able to launch to that next level. And I think that's what a lot of fans are really concerned about. A lot of those other losses, I kind of crossed them off as losses. I didn't expect a super strong result in Columbus. Would it have been nice if they could find a way to pull it off? But like, I don't think that's a deciding factor in the season. I don't think Nashville or Orlando, based on how they were playing, is a deciding factor in the season, losing those games in a row. They were both like, Orlando hadn't lost in like 10 games. And Nashville had started a win, an unbeaten streak as well during that time, and they're still pretty red hot. So I'm okay with those losses. Those for me don't decide how the progression of this team is being made. It's the New England loss, specifically at home, them not finding a way to get a goal in a game they should.
Chicago.
Chicago. Yeah. Well, here's the thing about Chicago. For me, the flag there is they had a shit game, right? They just played bad.
Yeah.
And since I haven't seen them have that kind of fall off in a second half throughout the season, I also kind of chalk that up. That happens. No team is going to play perfect all the way through. Like we saw it last year when they played Minnesota at home, they dropped 3 and they lost 3-0. Like Vancouver, Vancouver is playing like out of this world. They're like levitating above the ground right now, and they still lost a game 5-0 against Cruz Azul. I was baffled that they didn't show up for that game in a final, right? But it happened. So if it's a one-off, and like in Vancouver as that example, they turned it right around and started dropping and getting results right back in MLS. So it's like, okay, it just happened. It just happened. Huh?
We're not like ever since we hit our peak, right, of being top of the league. Right. We've sort of just really, in my opinion, we right. We're going to lose 1 or 2 here or there, but it's like, man, I don't know. We went on that 5-game losing streak, right? Yeah. Yes, they were all away road games, which again, in my opinion, it's a bit of an excuse, but it shouldn't be the excuse. You know, you keep hearing Dino saying we were the better team, we should have won, the refs, blah, 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 blah. And it's like the whole, it's just getting old, right? It's like let's show up on the road and win a game. That would be
just like us.
Well, getting old?
Yeah.
Yeah. But, it's like just show up and win a game. Like, I don't know. I really don't know what the problem is. You know what I mean? It's like there's not one, like you mentioned, there's just not that one thing, right? I mean, it just seems to, I don't know. The team just seems to be out of, if I was Dino, I would go back to how we were last year. Concentrate on not letting the crosses come in, the shots come in, and then, look at the, hitting them on the counter or something.
Do most, starting teams at the level of MLS and above, do they switch out players so often? I mean,
it's going to rotate players, right? Just because.
Yeah,
of
I mean, within the game, but it's like you're starting 11, whatever, and maybe a player is injured or these crazy international breaks and this break and that break, and they're going to play. Man, this soccer shit is crazy. It's like, sorry, some of our best players are going to be gone for 3 weeks, but we're not going to. I mean, I have no idea summertime, and even looking at, comments tonight, no one's coming. Everyone's like on vacation. It's like, what? I don't even know what's going on right now. When do we sign Pep? Do we sign Pep? Do we have to get rid? I mean, and we get back on what, July 5th?
Well, at home.
God dang.
But no, I mean,
don't know what I usually don't, but I really don't know what's going on right now.
I don't know. I think the majority of the teams understand who their starting 11 are at this time.
Yeah.
I mean, halfway through the season, right? You better know who you want to start and who you don't want to start. And we're still tinkering around trying to figure out who's going to fit in and not.
So that answers my question. This is abnormal.
I would say it is. Would you agree?
To be a top 4 team, I would say it's abnormal. I think for me, that's where maybe the gap is. I think a lot of people, and this is based on the team's own standards of what their expectations were going into this year, right? I think, and then when you look at like national pundits, I think it's also like a lot of people expected big things from Charlotte this year. And I think what we're seeing is those expectations not being met. I think this team, based on what I've seen so far and based on what the schedule looks like the rest of the way, I still have this team in and around 50 points. I have them on 52. I think they get 27 out of those last 14 games. 9 of those 14 are at home. Favorable schedule. They only have 5 road games in the last 4 months. They're going to be at home a lot. Logistically, things are going to be way more chill down the stretch for them from it comes as a club perspective. And I think they're going to get a decent amount of points, and they're against favorable opponents a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that progression has been made. I think they're still in the same spot that they were at last year. And I think that's where we're seeing a dip. I think the expectation was, can this team get to 60 points? Can this team be a top 4 team contending for trophies? But right now what we're seeing is a team that is at pretty much the same level at most, and they didn't even push for the US. So that's the thing I'm most peeved about, that they didn't go all in for the US Open Cup and they left players home. For me, out of anything that has happened out of that entire month of May, I highlighted that as the most important game. I was like, you got to get past DC. You got to get this team to a quarterfinal and show that you can actually push this team deep into a tournament and get the fan base hyped about a potential trophy and a run in a tournament. And Dean didn't pull that off. And for me, that's the biggest out of anything that happened in May. That's for me the biggest let off was that. And you could say, yeah, the game was close. There were starters that showed up and didn't play well, and this and that. I think you go all in and go and show the team that you're willing to go all in for this, and show the fans you're willing to go on for it. And they didn't. And so that for me is a let up, because the team announced, we're going for trophies, we're going for top 4.
But the basic point is we were thinking, everyone was thinking we would be better this year.
Yes.
We came out the gate fast.
Yeah.
We're like, holy shit, we're better than we thought we'd be. This is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And then boom. And then to your point on the US Open, it's like, oh, actually, we're going to pull back even more. It's like, at that point, it's like, all right, May, screw it. Give it up. Man.
I don't know. It's like teams have figured us out, right? They figured out how to play around us, through us, and it's just it's starting to show, right? I mean, the only way to, I don't know, you can hear the rumblings, through the fans in Charlotte, right? It's, the excitement's wearing off, right? It's just like it all seems to be going downhill. We need a couple of wins to kind of bring the FOMO back around for everybody. And, like you said, though, Brian, towards the end of the season is favorable for us. Yeah. However, the question becomes, though, if we can't win a damn game on the road, what difference does it make when we go into the playoffs if we're not seeded to where we have the games at home?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's a positive. I'm saying they're at the same spot and they're probably getting knocked out of the first round. That's my point. I'm saying I'm saying this is a 50 right now. What I'm seeing is a 50-point team Dean will find a way to tactically at least
Level.
get the team to around the same point total. That's
Yeah.
what they're on pace to do right now, and they have a favorable schedule, so they'll hit it. And this year, 52 points looks like a 6th place finish or a 5th place finish. And so for me, I haven't seen anything to be like they make the playoffs and or like be right around those seeds, but then have a hard time on the road against an Orlando, against a Nashville, against a Cincinnati, and they're kind of stuck in that same boat. And I think that's for me what a lot of frustration. I mean, and then it'll be 4 seasons in a row, and then on top of that, depending on how San Diego finishes, I mean, I'll have to double check this stat, but I think if San Diego finishes where they're at, they qualify for CONCACAF Champions Cup. And I think Charlotte FC might be the only team that's never either won a trophy or qualified for Champions Cup in all of MLS. And so I think that they're like, if that I think also just highlights the sort of lukewarm nature of the start of this expansion over 4 years. And I think that's also what this season is kind of culminating is like, hey, this was supposed to be the breaking point that pushes this team through from this like 9th, 5th. Hey, we can kind of hang around and play a little bit and maybe be a tough team to beat. But like tough team to beat aren't the teams that are taken seriously. They're just the teams that don't want to be, maybe the teams that are shooting for trophies don't want to play against during their run during the playoffs, right? Like,
yeah, fair.
The standard was like, can this team become one of those teams that's shooting not to be the tough team to beat, but to be the team that, is trying to get all the way through to the final and push for trophies. And that's just what we have not seen at all at this point.
No, and I mean, right now we're sitting in 9th, right? That last play-in spot, right? So it's
and 11th potentially. Both teams behind them have games in hand.
Yeah. But I mean, all right, to that point, right, put some positive spin on it, right? If we can lose 5 games in a row and drop down like this, what's to stop us from winning 5 games and just shoot back up, right? I mean, it is parity is pretty good in the MLS from that aspect. So, the wins.
July.
Yeah. July, August, September, October. Yeah. But I don't know.
One month at a time. One month at a time, Lee.
I was just trying to think how many games we got in each month.
Don't make too much. Just go.
Enough. I mean, between July, August, September, October, they have 9. So, right, they have 9 home games left in that time. So, at least a couple of months. A couple per month. And again, like I said, that only 5 road games out of those 4. So they're not traveling a whole lot. So even if they're, they have multiple
coming up too, right? That's
true. Which they should really push for. If they let off the gas like they did for US Open Cup, you got to push for. I mean, you got to show this fan base that you're serious about actually. I mean, if you don't and you're still hanging on 8th or 9th, you're just not you're not serious about your goals.
So, as an Arsenal fan, if we won the Leagues Cup and we just didn't make the playoffs, would you consider that a good season?
Well, I mean, why are you calling out the Arsenal fan? This is what you guys did at Tottenham. You guys won the trophy, but you came 17th in the league.
Geez.
JT's like, why are we talking about this?
Good season. So, my question to you was, if Charlotte won the Leagues Cup and we make the playoffs, would that be considered a good season?
Well, I think it's a good season, but then you're probably firing Dean Smith based on the Tottenham Hotspur history.
I don't know. Is it Dino that's on the platter, or is it Zoran?
No,
it's not Dino.
I think it's for sure.
I
think it's got to be. Well, here let's see. I mean, it's how the season finishes, right? I mean, I think Zoran definitely has to be on the hot seat, though. I mean, it's been 4 years. If you don't finish anywhere near top 4 again for 4 straight years, and again, like I said, if San Diego qualifies for Champions Cup, I think there's a chance. I'll have to verify this, but I mean, every expansion team since Charlotte FC has at least qualified for Champions Cup and done something pretty special at one point. So it's like, yes, are they all doing something consistently? No, like Austin FC is up and down, St. Louis is up and down, but to have the peaks that they have had also seemed to be quite worth it for the fan base, right? Like, I mean, it seems like Austin FC, when they were really crushing and Driussi was there and just absolutely going off and they made a playoff run, that's fun. Yes, are the lows suck too, but like having a peak is kind of nice. And I think that's what Charlotte FC is missing. They don't have a peak. There's not been a real peak.
Well, we had a peak.
No, hold on. I got to blow your mind a little real quick. Instead of a peak, is there like a depth, as in Charlotte's going to Charlotte? So are Charlotte FC going down into the depths instead of peaking with the Hornets and all the other teams?
Go that far. So this is.
Hey, you're the one who invented the phrase "Charlotte's going to Charlotte."
Yeah, but I wouldn't put them in like Charlotte. I wouldn't put them in the category with the Hornets and the Panthers by any means, right? But
they've been horrible franchises.
couple of questions here, right? I mean, going back to the 4 years in existence, right? Zoran's been pretty much the only one that stuck around, right? On the football inside for the most part, right? There's some back office stuff too that's still there, but is it just, are we still sort of feeling the after effects of a shit team build and having the problems with Mars, and then throwing Latanzio in there, and now it's like Dino's in there. He's flushed out most of the players he probably doesn't want, but there's still lingering players around, right? That he probably wouldn't have picked or started or whatever, right? It's just his hand's been tied, right, with the rules in the MLS for sure.
To some extent, but like what Leo Labata was a signing during his time. That I'd imagine he had.
Was Labata when Dino was here?
Yeah, last year. Yeah.
Wasn't he the year before?
No. I think he was March last year.
Yeah, man, get your facts straight, Leo.
yeah. So because they had Camille and Carol.
Boy, because he's I would put Abada under Zorn, right? Because I feel like
they had been scouting him for a long time, but I'd have to think that Dean had at least some input. I can't imagine he was just completely left out to dry, and Zorn was like, "Hey man, we got a deal." Like
it's real good friends with those folks over in like
100%.
Right? And so to me, I don't know. I still feel like Dino just quite hasn't got the team that he wants.
Yeah. Westwood's not his captain, right? Westwood was before his time, and also like 35 now, right? So it's also, I would say that's probably a part of it. I think that's one of the reasons why they're gung ho about it being win now, which they should, right? Westwood's 35, Burns 32, Kalina's 32, Bronico's about to be 30, Zaha's 32 on loan. A lot of these guys are Ream's 37. A lot of these guys are on
that one for real. Ream, I don't understand why we got
him. Yeah, right. And that's a Dean Smith move. He was talking about a left-footed center back like all last year.
Yeah.
And even though he had a center back pairing, I think for me, that's one of the mistakes that Dean kind of walked himself into. Was he kind of approached it? Because you see that happen in the Premier League all the time. There's like coaches will be like, well, I want a left-footed guy for this. They get real specific about the tactics of what they want in this certain setting. And it's like, dude, in MLS, you got only a certain amount of spots. If you got a center back pairing that's getting shutouts, just leave it, dude. What do you think? Left-footed center back, who cares? Like,
I don't think Iran was doing a bad job, right? I feel like I don't know. We kind of shot ourselves in the foot. And if you kind of go back to when we started losing, man, to last season, it was when Ream sort of came in, right? We started dicking around with that back four, and we started leaking goals, and obviously we've never been a team to just go on a tyrant and scoring a bunch of goals, right? Yeah. It's just I don't know, man. It just that signing for me is other than selling shirts and having a big name with the hopes, I guess, of bringing other big names to Charlotte, right? I don't see the reason for that.
Yeah, and I won't put that all on Ream in terms of the bad performance. I think Karol Swiderski coming back kind of shook things up a little. Just a lot of these other Pep Biel coming in at the end of the window, and him having to get adjusted. I think also just Dean's attitude towards how he wanted to play towards the end as these attacking-minded players came in. I think he wanted to start showing hey, not only can we pinch in and stay compact and not give up opportunities, we can find goals. And I think that was kind of his aim last year going into this year as well. And you see the end of last season and all of this, I've been saying this since January, hey, this defense is not what you think it is. It's giving up opportunities, and you're going to start seeing that turn into goals. It just hasn't yet because Kalina was in the form of his life.
Yeah.
And also the team was getting fortunate early on, which is why when you hear Dean say hey, we're kind of playing above our belt, part of that for me was Arango wasn't hitting his shots that he had when he had good opportunities against Charlotte. Surridge missed a point blank one. He just completely airballed it and whiffed on a chance to tie it in that game in Charlotte against Nashville. And so some of those opportunities weren't falling for opposition, and they're falling for them now. And so I think that also, and that for me goes back a little bit into last year. There was that really good defensive half against Orlando in the playoffs at home when they didn't give up a single shot for the entire first half or something. But those moments were fewer and far between. I feel like down the stretch last year when Kalina really became the goalkeeper of the year. And then that has kind of just continued into this year. Like, I think big part of that is Dean's changed to like, hey, how do we score goals? And he has like, they are on their currently right now, the longest streak in team history in terms of consecutive games with at least a goal scored. It's 10. And that's a record. So now it hasn't led to results, right? It hasn't led to results the whole way.
Cheer for something, right?
Yeah, and so like you have to say like they're finding goals consistently. Now it's like, how do you balance finding goals with not conceding, controlling games?
I mean, you mentioned finding goals. I mean, but there were some chances against Philly that we should have taken.
They didn't put them away. Yeah, they didn't put them away.
Unfortunately, I think Philly scored at the right time for them, right before the end of the first. I mean, they scored at both ends of the first half and the second half.
But like talking about chances, because I had this written down. Abada, I think it was like 70th minute or something like that.
Yeah.
Before I don't know if it's better for someone like him to always look to score. And we complain about players who do not go directly towards the goal and try to shoot and score. And that's what he did and played it right into the keeper. But it's like, my God, man, just pass it real quick. I mean, totally, I can't remember who was to his left, but he was almost, it might have been Zaha or whatever, but he was totally wide open. And Abada was like, which is usually good, what we want, but man, that window is so much smaller.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, he's also in that situation. He's like 1v1 with the keeper. It's not a terribly bad. I mean, and I think for me, I mean, if you talk to Jorge, he'd just be like, any Lil Abada chance, you just got to have it pass. But I think I said that was like a hot take of mine early in the year. I don't know if he's gonna cut it in terms of what his just what the investment in him was and the expectations around a player like that. He hasn't met them, and and it's moments like that where you have to be, if you're gonna not find the pass, you got to find the finish. And which I'm fine with players taking the chance and finding the finish, because I want them to have that mentality in those situations to take the shot on. And if you're always that doesn't mean don't look for the pass, but you want to have killers. The problem is Lil Abada, to me, from what I've seen, doesn't seem to have the killer instinct required. And I think that's where the issue lies. That's one of the reasons why I don't always get so pissed about Agyemang, not picking his head up and just shooting his shot, because I do feel like his finishing ability is pretty good. And I don't mind him getting multiple chances and shots during a course of a game. Not saying his standard is anywhere. I mean, Lil Abada is an $8 million transfer. Him and Agyemang aren't comparable. But that's one of the reasons why I want or Wilfred Zaha. I want him anytime he's in the box, 1v1. I want him to take that player on. I don't really care. Like, I want him to, because that's the instinct you want deep into the game. Is he going to miss opportunities sometimes? But he's 1v1. He's supposed to be your killer.
Yes, I understand that. But once you realize that Abada is not the killer at $8 million, then you're like, hey, so you're Zoran now.
Yeah.
What do we do the next 2 months?
Yeah, I mean, you had a huge problem. And then I think that's where you go back to saying, like, who's on the hot seat? Is it Zoran or Dean? And I think you look at Zoran's track record of being the final guy making these decisions.
But is Abada out and Pep gets the DP, then we have an open DP?
Yeah. But it goes back to being on the hot seat. I mean, how many record signings has Zoran signed now that haven't worked? It's at least 3.
I don't think we really start talking about Abada though in that realm until the end of the season, right?
No. So you think he stays throughout?
Yeah, I think most of the fellas are going to stay. I think Pat's going to stay. Milana's going to stay. The question is what little pieces do we get during this summer window, right? Maybe like some MLS veterans that are not as good as where they could have been at other teams, and we could use them here, right? I mean, you know, what I mean, our midfield, I think, is our biggest concern, right? Yeah. At least on paper. You know, Bronico's a shoe-in always. You know, Westwood's he's a good captain, but I don't think you can kind of see him, you know, like you mentioned, he's 35. You can kind of see that progression sort of, the game's getting past him, right? Yeah. And at what point does Dean decide to actually like maybe pair Bronico up with somebody else, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I can totally see that justification. I think if that is indeed the case in the direction this team needs to go, I do think they need to sign somebody else. I don't think you can kind of fit what Westwood was able to provide when, I mean, still for me, the best I've seen this team under Dean was those 2 road games at Cincinnati last year and at Columbus. And a big part of those games was how well Westwood was able to provide support in the attacking third. I think when he's on, what he provides defensively with his recovery runs and his ability to create his vision in the, you know, progressing the ball and in the attacking third is such an advantage, because you're essentially getting 2 or 3 players out of one guy. And obviously if he can't do that, then you have a problem just because you have to find a replacement. But at the same time, I don't think you have that on this roster. I think maybe they were hoping Williamson could maybe provide some of that. Yeah. I don't know how much. I mean, he's got 2 torn ACLs. I don't know if he can do the running. And I think Dean Smith's style of play requires kind of a double pivot that's a working man's midfield, where they're willing to do the hard running. And I think that's just kind of how he likes to have his teams play. And so I don't know if Williamson can do that for 90 minutes. I don't know. I'm not a physician, but 2 ACL tears, even if if he's back healthy and his ligaments are good, the muscles around
that's insane.
Require work.
I had no idea he had 2 ACL tears.
Yeah.
But back to Westwood, it's like two or 3 positions, great point. Or 2 positions, you know, playing those. But the third one being the captain on the field. Yeah. And being the whatever the muscle, the whatever the moxie, talking shit to the rest. I mean, which is the point of the captain anyway. Yep. But whatever, I love his attitude. However, if the attitude plus being able to play the 2 positions, and the lead's point 35. I mean, when do you call the ball?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a great captain.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, he's vocal, right? But like, I honestly, this season, I feel like he's just gone missing in pretty much all the games, right? You might show up for about 5 or 10 minutes here or there, but like, he's just not the same as he was last year, you know? Yeah. And it's, you know, I'm sure is
his family here?
Yeah, it's all in Charlotte. I'm sure he's, you know, trying the best he can, but just something just seems off. And like, teams are just playing right through us, you know? And it's, I don't know. We just need a killer. We just need like a Roy Keane in the set.
Yeah, I think they need. I mean, I think midfield. I think you hit it on the head there, Lee. I think they need more midfield depth, more support there. Somebody else who can kind of just either. I mean, I don't know if it's a 6 that kind of helps anchor things. I do like the idea of the double pivot, just because that's what Dean has been running, and it like. When the team was playing well, it seemed like there was 2 or 3 guys that were more of a deep lying or either a dual 8 kind of position. Even last year when Pep Biel was on the right wing, he kind of just went with like 3 center mids / D mids and just kind of ran with like 3 8s or, you know, a 6. Westwood holding back a little bit, but I mean, just kind of more of a flat or 3 midfield that was willing to do a ton of work and running, and then just left 3 attackers going forward. So I feel like that's going to be Dean's style of play a lot of the time, in terms of just wanting, again, guys who are willing to put in some extra miles on. And so finding a guy like that is going to be key. But at the same time, you need to have the creativity in the final third, because that's what was written.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got great insight, Bam, for sure, and I love it. And thank you for being on CLTFC for the fans. Fan TV, for the fans, by the fans, damn it. But the point is, what the hell, man? It's the middle of the season, summertime. We're still like, to my point earlier, the top 14, they figure out their starting 11. Of any other sport I would follow, I would guess that 90% of the starting roster, unless someone got injured or traded, is going to be somewhat the core for that season. And now, I mean, with this team, it feels like it's 50%. And then you add in all these crazy breaks and gams and tams and bams. Like, what the hell? I don't understand this fucking game.
I mean, the other teams are having to deal with it too. They just seem to be better suited for it, right? And again, going back to like, where does this fall? I still feel like we just still have a lot of leftovers still from season 2, right? Early season 3, where, we haven't quite got those players that we wanted. We've sort of always had to go for that third choice player that, in that list versus getting that first choice, right? I mean, forget the big names. Obviously, we're not going to get those, right? But, like some of these, I don't know, like the Williamsons, I'm sure he wasn't that first pick, right? But there are some really good free agents out there, man, that could pick up, could squeeze in and probably get them under that 600,000 or whatever it is salary cap, at least for a couple of months, for a year or something, right?
Hey, real quick. How weird was it that one of Philly's best players was Bender? And hearing him go, Bender goes in there, I was like, shit.
Benny. Yeah, I thought he was going to score the winner, man. That's what
I'll be right back. I got to get a snack. I need some salty snacks.
I mean, so what would you give us, like, if you were rating us, man? Like, so far, I mean, it's like a C-, right? It's
about average. I mean, it's definitely not. I mean, I'm not counting the team out in terms of being able to make the playoffs just fine. I think they're still way on pace to do that, just in terms of their average point total right now. And again, the favorable schedule going into the second half of the year, I totally see them still making the playoffs. But again, that's not the goal. That wasn't the progression that was both expected from the fans and what was touted by the players, the coach, Zoran, everyone, right? I think the target, the expectation, the stage, and that's where I kind of go back to, if that wasn't, I mean, if we're saying that the roster is kind of hodgepodge from the past, then you can't set that standard. Like if Dean and Zoran and all these guys, like if the players, if this is a hodgepodge together from multiple different coaching regimes, then the standard is in top 4. And so that's the one pushback I would have on that. I think maybe it's, is that the drawback to Dean Smith being able to figure out a solution so fast, maybe in some ways last year, to be able to get this team righted to where they made less moves, or just, I mean, I also think when you come from the scouting effort and investment that this team put in, they were able to find some diamonds in the rough. And then, but at the same time, those players are also still, a lot of these guys, again, pretty young. Like I talked about at the top of the show, in terms of like Vargas being a player whose peaks and valleys, and we're still seeing the best of him maybe come out. I would say you could still throw Malanda and a Privet for sure in that same boat. Privet does not have a ton of professional experience. And so like he still is going to need a lot of time to really hit his peak. I don't think he's peaked yet. And I would say even Malanda in a lot of ways hasn't hit his peak yet. I think just the potential of what Malanda could be is rated so high that people already kind of view him as peaked in some ways. But I've seen him still make a lot of youthful mistakes in a lot of different situations, both from the end of last year during the playoff run against Orlando and even this year. I mean, it's just a player that's not consistent all the way yet. And I think that's just a lot of spots in this. I mean, you're looking at the top at Ajiman, you're looking at Privet and Malanda, you're looking at, Vargas, a lot of these guys not quite there yet. And so when you kind of have these spots fit into in the starting rotation, I think part of that is maybe this team just wasn't also ready for top 4, and they thought these guys were peaked a little bit faster than maybe they were.
Yeah, I mean, all valid points, right? So, you mentioned Privet and Malanda, right? I mean, they're the only thing that's been a staple point in that back line since last season.
We have them locked in for a while, right?
What do you mean?
I mean, we signed them for longer.
Oh yeah.
They're locked in long term.
I guess, but where I was going with that is, our left back changes every other week. Our right back seems to be changing that since Burke was out, right? And it's like, last year Dean said, "Screw it, we're going to be a hard team to score on." Again, obviously, shout out to Kalina for getting goalkeeper of the year and making some outrageous saves. But it's like this year, right? It's like that. I think personally, I would look back and lock in that back four, shore up the back line again. And then, if you start getting balls out, Zaha likes to come back. He likes to get help back on that wing, right? He can push the ball forward on those sort of transitions or the counters. I just think we just need to lock in the back line, be tough to score on again, and hopefully we can nick a goal or two.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to do something like that, I actually wouldn't necessarily mind, especially in these games when Ajiman is playing with the Gold Cup. I still wouldn't mind seeing what happens if you put Zaha centrally, just to see. I would love to see that one time. I know obviously there was that game when they went more of a 3-4-3 shape where Zaha and Biel were more in the half space pockets behind Tokomati in that game. That was in Orlando, and and even Zaha said I felt a little bit more free, a little bit more freedom to go inside, find the game, this and that. Why not put him centrally if you're having a hard time controlling the game and letting your players find the game, right? That's kind of what the end result is. If you don't have control of the game, your players are going to have a hard time finding it. Put your main guy in a spot to where it's easier for him to find the game than out on the wing. And so I would be interested in still seeing that, especially when you have a moment where Tokomati still continues to not really find that X factor. This has been a big moment for him. I circle this as hey, this is a 3 or 4 game stretch where he has an opportunity to really maybe push Ajiman for minutes. And he had another opportunity in the USL Cup game when they were playing, or the US Open Cup game against NCFC, where he just didn't quite find finishes. And I think these are moments where if he keeps not doing that, you might as well see what Zaha does centrally and ask a question and experiment a little bit in a position where you don't have the guy who's been your starter in Ajiman around. You might as well play a little bit.
Yeah. No, I agree. Well, I agree with that all 100%. I won't mind seeing him up top. Like you said, the opportunities have been there for these players, and some of them are just not stepping up and taking it, right? And so therefore, while the season's long, it's still short, right? And it's a results game business. So we need to start getting. We've only drawn one game this season.
Yeah, the opener.
So crazy.
It's like we either win or we lose, right? And here lately, it's been a lot of losses. So I don't know, man. The Philly game, I thought we played okay. I think the scoring of both goals was tough to take, right there at the end of the first half, and then obviously close to almost the last kick of the game. So we kind of hung in there. I thought we go back to missed chances with Abada, right? We could have been easily 2 or 3 up, right? 3-1 up, but again, we don't take our chances when they're presented, and that comes back and bites us in the ass later in the game.
Yeah, when you don't take your moments, don't take your chances. You at least, you make it really hard for you, especially on the road, and especially when you are a bit up against it. Like Philly had as many shots in the box, and they had 9 shots in the box as Charlotte had total shots. So I definitely do think Philly had the volume and had the opportunity. I think
they were just taking the shots when it was presented to them.
Yeah,
dude. That shot though, the shot from Bueno.
Yeah,
that shit was sick.
Yeah, it was a good chance. And I think if you're Philly going into the half, if that's not a goal and it's 0-0, I would say that, obviously it's a good half, and Charlotte survived and got through to halftime on the road in a tough environment, 0-0, where the fan base is going hard at Zaha and everything like that. But at the same time, I would say Philly and Philly fans and Philadelphia would also probably feel maybe hard done by that it's not.
Philly
They
fans are
didn't
crazy,
have the
man.
goal. So I think it was even in some ways, but I mean, again, on the road, it's just about finding a result. And I think they had a chance to get a result there, especially when it was 1-1. You come away with a point, and I think that's a good result. I think losing that game is really tough. Again, it goes back to the fact that it was an opportunity that you might not have presented to you in a different part of the season because half their rosters at the Gold Cup are hurt, and you have an opportunity to really, nick a point or even nick 3. And it really seemed like, they couldn't really, they got back into it late, but then just couldn't find their footing. So even if that chance doesn't go in, they couldn't clear the ball. They couldn't kind of again, find that control of the game of how do you just get out of here with some stability? Why do you have to chase and wear and tear so hard? And just to try to fight.
Not to mention 8+ minutes. What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? Is that normal for other leagues?
What's his name? Acting like he was hurt, and then we had to sit there. I think that might have hurt us actually. Right, we could have probably just powered through and stayed in some sort of rhythm of blocking shots and just sending it long and just burn the clock out. But having to stop right there at the end of the game for so long.
It hurt us, Lee, because we lost the game, man.
Yeah, I know. I watched it. I was pissed. Yeah, I was pissed.
At the very end, that's always the worst, though.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, all right, we come out 1 point, great, whatever it is. And at the very end.
All right. So if you're Dino, man, are you still we're still, like you said, we'll probably make the playoffs, right?
Yeah. If they don't, then I think Dean's on the hot seat for sure. If they don't make the playoffs.
Then again, it's like the Leagues Cup, though. I think, that would be somewhere where we might be able to go and steal some silverware, right? Now, just being honest, because Dean came out this year and said silverware was the goal, right?
Yeah, 100%.
MLS Shield, whatever.
Yep.
But, again, to your point earlier, I think we had a good chance in the U.S. Open that we
100% they did.
Totally wasted that.
Yep.
And so that's gone. And so we're not winning the whole MLS Cup.
It's a long shot. Yeah, it's a very long shot. They've put themselves up against it.
Right. So,
hey, from our intro, O'Kinney says something different.
But I would just say that, if the best chance for us is going to be the Leagues Cup at this point, and I guess it depends on what other teams are really going to focus on too, right? Is it
want to get in the playoffs and win one series or one game, however the fuck it works?
Well, with that being said, right, we need to.
Which is basically the what every Charlotte fan wants for every team. Just get into the playoffs and win one playoff round.
Well, we need to make sure that we have a home field advantage.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, we just cannot win on the road, man.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. I don't get it. I maybe the first season, it's like, all right, we're trying to get shit together, but we're on season 4 now and we still can't win away.
Yeah.
But to your point earlier, we stumbled out of the gates real fucked up with Mars and Latanzio. Not real fucked up. Let me back off that. But kind of fucked up. And whatever, change of regime, change of coaching style, change of who wants, whatever. And to your point earlier, will it now be this next year? And if Zorn's around or not, whatever. Does Dean finally have all the players he wants? Do we have the depth in the midfield and the defense he wants to play? I don't know. I don't know how this shit works.
If we are as mediocre or if we end the season like we did last year, right, I think Zorn's gone. Right? I think it's time to change up the GM, get a fresh set of eyes on the team and, work with Dino and actually, look at Cincinnati. They turned it around just like that. And so in 1 year. So it can be done, especially in MLS. So it's just, so I don't know. Maybe I just want a winning team, man.
I don't want Charlotte, man.
Yeah, I think especially I think how Leah Labada finishes is I think that's a big part of it. Like if if he doesn't show up and find a way to be, I mean, it's just really hard to argue why, like the top end signings haven't been able to get this team over the edge, and that those are the players that get teams over the edge. Like if you're going to actually get to the next level, your top tier signings they've got to hit, and just none of them have hit in the way that they need to be hitting. Zaha is still up for debate. I think Leo Labada is, and then you got Pep Biel too. But all of these are kind of like, I think the other strange thing, and I mean we haven't even talked about this, like the whole like the loan aspect of a lot of these moves and the kind of the hedging of bets. It also is like there's no real commitment to the style or the players or anything that's going on. Everything's like kind of rental, and so you just don't know how. I mean, obviously, it seems like Pep Biel is pretty determined to try to earn a contract here. Obviously, his performances show that. His production shows that, and it sounds like that's actually something like. I mean, obviously, he has stated a few times. So, I mean, players like that. So hedging your bets in that situation seems to have worked, but the fact that it's kind of been a trend now, especially recently, I think also doesn't necessarily bode well, because it makes, to me, what it sounds like is like there's some indecision on the direction of what you actually want to do. And I think that's another big factor is like, okay, how does this team progress? Like if you're just loaning everybody, it's just okay, but that's like kind of how you see like in the Prem or in like Championship, that's like the teams that are trying to either piecemeal to stay out of relegation or just stay up a league. They like kind of piecemeal the team together. Like, hey, we can loan a guy from Chelsea that's not playing. We kind of just keep we can just stay 16th. We stay up for another year, and then we get the money that we need to build a team.
Like, isn't that the overall point of what the MLS is? A mid-league that's always trying, they don't know what's coming up, coming down, whatever.
No, you can find players that you can commit to long-term for sure. I mean, even like, the big signings like Cucho Hernandez recently in Columbus. I mean, that was a big commitment, a big signing, $10 million. They signed him long-term, and then it was just unfortunate for him or for the team that they had to move him quick because he wanted to be able to compete with, potentially making Colombia's roster for the World Cup next year, and the Betis move came up.
And always it. I mean, since we're mid, the Premier League and La Liga and whatever else, Bundesliga, and all this stuff is always going to be pulling from it. And you find, we're always just, it's like it's minor leagues. I mean, when it really comes down to it, minor league.
But again, going back to that,
they're going to be pulled up and pulled away, which they should want to do. They want more money. They want more prestige. They want to pay with the best players in the world. And if they're okay enough, they stay here. Or if they're really good and now they're on the back end of their career, they come here.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, isn't that always going to be the quagmire that we're stuck in the MLS?
Yeah, to an extent it is for sure. But I mean, again, to the Cucho example, they still got 2 or 3 good years out of him. They got an MLS Cup. They went to a final in leagues, and they won Leagues Cup. And they
squeeze off the end of the really talented players' juice.
And and so you have an opportunity, like, to win trophy, and you just have to. I mean, for that move specifically, I think that was just, the right commitment at the right time, and then they committed to him with making a coaching change, bringing Wilfred Nancy in, right, and then he made the whole team center around him in terms of play.
Making the point with Zoran, I mean, God, it's got to be so. I mean, whatever, it's a hard job regardless.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to stick up for him, but my God, in the MLS, whatever new team, Charlotte, whatever plays into it, it's got to be so hard to pull in players like that might be, I don't know.
Well,
it's a crazy business, man. It's a crazy business.
A couple of points there, right? I mean, we haven't hit on a DP yet, right? Yeah. I mean, again, 4 years in, we should at least. I think Pep's going to be probably the first one we hit on. And then the second point is like you mentioned, who we building this club around? Which player is the person we're building this club around?
Yeah, I don't know.
We're not. Players that you sort of like building around. Are we going to start building around Pep, or like there's normally a player that's like, this is going to be our player, our stud, right? And we're going to build the team around him, right? And that's the sort of progression we need to be making. But again, always seem to be doing is like, oh, we're going to get a lone player from here. We're going to get a lone player from there. Oh, we got this name, right? It's been talk. Dino was saying it in the preseason, right? You needed that one player that could get it by the scruff of the neck and take it, right?
Yeah.
And that was supposed to be Zaha. I mean, I'm not knocking Zaha because I thought he played pretty well last week, and he's starting to show how good he is. But, it's like still, we don't have a player that we're saying this is the player we're building that team around, and this is the sort of style we want. We're just fucking putting squares in a round hole.
Yeah, I think Zaha could be the guy for at least the next couple of years. If he in the last 16 games here, he needs to. I think he needs to find a way to get to 20 goal contributions. I think he needs to have that kind of second half of the season.
Around a lone player that is pretty much towards the end of his career.
No, yeah, it's obviously building in the short term. I think it's the combination of Zaha earning the longer term contract after the 6-month loan going into 2026, plus.
But what, he's 34 now? 32,
I think, and then Pep Biel's in his prime. So you have, if you sign him to the longer term deal, I do think there's a chance that you're building a bit around him. But we have to see those moves haven't gotten done. So
yeah,
I think that's a big.
The sad thing is the names that we bring up are 2 lone players, players, right?
Lee. It's 10 o'clock, 10:01 now. And I'm just going to solve all this for us.
All right.
Because he's my boy. We just got to get Bobby Belair on here to explain some of this stuff, man.
Yeah, but he's going to only talk so much, or he's only going to be able to give so much, right? Because anyway.
Bobby Belair. This is CLT FC Fan TV for the fans, by the fans. Damn it. We still up here. We hanging out.
Yeah. Brian, man, appreciate you coming on the show, man. There's so much more we could talk about, man. So much more. We could sit here for another hour, I feel like, and just.
Yes, sir.
Well, y'all actually could. Once you stop doing live stream, y'all can just sit there and talk.
Yeah. But
are you not going to sit and talk with us for an hour, JT?
Hey, I didn't say it. Let him.
You're on summer break. It says on your thing.
Yeah,
that's right.
Some of us still got to work.
Summer break.
Brian, man, where can people find you?
Yeah, y'all can find me on Twitter at Bam Maurer Media. You can also find all my written content at topbid90.com. And me and Jorge also just acquired CSN. I don't know if y'all saw this the last couple of weeks. So I've been like waist deep in college soccer news and everything like that. So definitely CSN's college soccer news. So I've been doing a lot of work on that end. So check that out as well. Yeah.
Damn, buried the lead. Hey, that's
you got to get on X, bro. You would have seen it.
Let
me know.
On you. And you can find us at CLTFC Fan TV everywhere on our socials outside the stadium for the fan interviews. I want to do some more fan interviews, man. And I want it to be after a win too. So with that being said, man, JT, you got anything to add?
Not a damn thing.